We've come on to Bonnyrigg now to visit the National Marine Loft of Bobby Carruthers. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Keith. Welcome to Cockpen Lofts at Bonnyrigg in Bonnie, Scotland.
Just wish the weather was a bit better, mate.
Yeah, it's not very good now.
No.
We had a lovely spring earlier on, but now it's typical stuff.
Yeah. When did you come into the sport?
Well, I started racing pigeons in 1952 when I left the school. But we had pigeons as schoolboys before that.
Yeah.
A lot of my school pals' fathers had pigeons. There's nobody in my family ever had pigeons, but I caught the bug from my schoolmates and started in 1952 with 9 youngsters.
Yeah. Schoolboy stuff.
Aye, schoolboy stuff. A youngster for this loft,
yeah.
One for here and one for there. And after flying them to 200 and odd miles, there was still 8 of those 9 pigeons survived. Yeah. A far cry from today's losses, I'll tell you.
What's one or two of your best performances?
Well, first national, 3 seconds. I've got a lot of pigeons in the first 10 in national racing. I've got 4 gold award pigeons over the years.
Yeah, brilliant.
The most recent success was in the Sirtilly race last year, which was a very hard event, and I was first in my federation and 4th open national with the first pigeon that I got.
Brilliant. What sort of racing do you like? Long distance or short distance?
Oh, long distance pigeons, all the kind of pigeon racing for me. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool pigeon fancy.
This is a quality pigeon. What's this one, Bobby?
It's a Marcel Brachus pigeon, funnily enough. And in 1995, in 2 Sirtilly Nationals, it was the only Midlothian pigeon home on the day on both occasions. It was 18th and 24th Open National that year. We stopped it to breed some pigeons off it. There's one other good prizes. It was 7th in the Fed in a hard Fairham race at 360 mile when it was a yearling in a northeast wind.
Yeah, what system was it raced on?
It's a natural pigeon. Yeah. All the pigeons in the Nationals are all raced natural.
Yeah.
But,
what's its best nest condition?
She flies well to wee youngsters, but these good pigeons will fly to anything, sitting 10 days onwards. Even some of the cock pigeons will win to small youngsters in the nest.
What system do you race your old birds on then, Bob?
Well, they're raced on the natural system, and they never paired up, the long distance pigeons, till about the end of March. It was the 22nd of March this year, and they're just sitting on the first round of eggs at the moment.
Yeah.
They won't go to the first 2 races until the wind changes out the hard, cold northeast, until the swallows and the swifts are back in the sky. Yeah. There won't be any long distance pigeons goes to any races, and there'll be no training done until that starts. But once the weather becomes pigeon racing weather, then we'll get the training basket out. They'll do 50 mile every morning, usually 4 or 5 days a week, and go to the race every week until they're properly fit.
Yeah, how about feeding them?
Feeding them, and they're hopper fed most of the time on a mixture of tick beans and peas, which they just help themselves. But when the racing gets underway, we manipulate the hoppers, because pigeons don't really eat enough while they're hopper fed. They'll eat enough to keep themselves in good order, but they don't produce a high, the word I think is metabolic rate. Yeah. You've got to boost them up. So shut the hoppers off at lunchtime so that they're hungry at night. Yeah. And feed them as much sport racing extra, some with plenty of power in it at night. Open up the hopper after that until dark, shut it again so that they're hungry again in the morning. Feed them more sport racing extra, open up the hopper to lunchtime. And that's the system that we feed the pigeons on.
Do you give them an open loft?
We used to be able to do all these things with impunity, and it was great to see the pigeons enjoying their freedom at this time of the year after they were paired up. But now, because of the massive increase in sparrowhawks, it's now an impossibility to do anything like that. You get a pigeon killed, or 2 or 3 pigeons killed every day. So now in the winter time, from the end of September right up until recently, when they've been paired up, the pigeons are shut up all winter. They never get out, because you would get them killed every day.
This is Bobby's main racing old bird loft. It's brick, double decker, and all the birds are trapped through Sputniks. This is the scene inside one of Bob's natural old bird sections. All the floors have grills, and the nest boxes are nice and secluded, ideal for long distance racing pigeons. So you feed your birds on a hopper then,
yep,
Bobby?
This is the hopper that I've invented over the years. This is probably about the Mark 5 venture.
Mark 5, yeah.
To try and stop the pigeons from scattering the grains. The hopper itself is fairly simple. And the beans and peas, which is the mixture in the main feed for the pigeons, trickles into that tray. The problem was to stop the pigeons throwing the grains out. One night lying in my bed pondering over this problem, I decided that a sloping board might well be the answer, and it proved to be the complete answer.
You're very ingenious.
Any pigeon that throws a bean out, it just rolls back in again. So that's the system for feeding the pigeons. From September right up until the main racing starts. We'll just simply at lunchtime put a board across there, shut the hoppers off.
Yeah.
So that come the evening time the pigeons are hungry. And we can go round these feeders with a good strong mixture. It's usually Versailles Sport Racing Extra that I use, 43% maize. And when we get to the 250 mile stage, we'll add some good peanuts to that. So we manipulate the hopper. Protein is free at certain times of the day, if you like, and the energy and the oil is added as the season goes on to produce the results that we're after with the pigeons.
There's another class hen, Bobby. What's this one?
Well, that one was 4th open in the Sir Tilly race last year, and it wasn't bred here, although it was reared in this loft. It's actually one of my club mates, Tom Murphy, who his daughter Rosemary, several years ago, it's now, I mean this is coming up a 4-year-old pigeon, entered the Versailles competition where the prizes were bikes and videos and TVs and doos, and she won a pigeon. And the pigeon was bred by Herman van Dam and eventually arrived in Bonnyrigg a couple of months after the competition. Tom brought the first pair of eggs down here, floated them under a pair of pigeons, and when the youngsters were ready to ring, phoned them to say, come and ring your pigeons. He only brought the one ring. He said he was going to ring one for me. And going through the rings, he picked that ring number 2400 and he rung that pigeon.
Yeah, that's
it was 4th open in the national race last year. He went to Leicester and disappeared for 13 days and was reported in Dublin. We lost a lot of pigeons that day in a strong east wind. And with the good auspices of Jim Rennick, we had it repatriated in 2 or 3 days, gave it a new mate, set it down for the race, gave it 3 50-mile tosses, and it was 4th national.
What families of pigeons you keep then, Bobby?
Well, basically the old Kilpatrick pigeons, although of course there never was any pure Kilpatrick pigeons. The word pure this and pure that in pigeon racing is a misnomer, there's no such thing. But they originate from John Kilpatrick's pigeon loft, from John McGilvray, a 4th, who won 2 Nance Nationals in the 50s. He then passed these pigeons on to John Carmichael, who was at Lauder at the time. I used to stay in Gifford in another county further east, which wasn't all that far from Lauder. And when he broke the pigeons, he lost a pigeon, and it came over the hill to me. It was an NEHU rung pigeon because the man stayed in Wooler and had moved up into Berwickshire to Lauder, and we thought that if we took the pigeon to Duns, it would go back home. And in 2 attempts to repatriate the pigeon, it just came back to us. So we reported it and heard about a fortnight later that it did indeed belong to John Carmichael, who had recently moved to Lauder and broke the pigeons. And the day we got the letter from Tom Perry of Cornhill and Tweed, who was the secretary of the Wheeler Pigeon Club at the time, he was at the door to collect his pigeon. And it was a son of John McGilvry's dream girl, the national Nance winner, when there was only, I think, 11 pigeons timed in that race. So he said, well, you know, I'm pleased to get my pigeon back. Had it gone to somebody else, I might never have heard about it. And if you like a youngster off it, I'll make sure you get one. So, you know, the young birds were racing. We'd forgotten all about the pigeon, and he appeared at the door one night. John Carmichael was a sort of a you'd say an abrupt man, and have you any rings? I says, well, I've got 2 left, give them to me. So he took the 2 rings away, and the youngsters must have been ready to ring, because within a little more than a fortnight he was back with 2 pigeons. I had one off the red pigeon that we'd reported, and a blue checker cock from a pigeon he called Screw Nail. And that year we'd bought Jimmy Callan of Blair Hill's pigeon at the charity sale in Leith for a £5. It was a red checker hen. It was out of his son, Stuart Bruni Condorance, great Nance Mealy, that was 19th, 3rd, 19th and 74th open Nance, 600 miles on the 4 years. And its mother was a checker hen. It was an Anderson Cowdenbeath pigeon. It flown range 4 times on the day, so it was well bred. I'd been there the week before, I'd seen the pigeon. I asked Jimmy which one he was sending to this sale and said, by Christ, I'm going to have that pigeon. So I bred the moneymaker pigeons, as I call them, out of they 2 cocks and that hen.
You formed your
A
family.
further egg was added the following year in '68. John Carmichael gifted me an egg and he said that it would breed me a dynasty. And he was absolutely right, he did.
This nice cock, Bob, what's this one?
This is a pigeon that was at Frome last year. The Scottish National Flying Club had its first ever inland national to try and capture some of the widowhood men. And this pigeon was third in my fed and 43rd open and a 2,000 yards a minute plus day.
Yeah.
He's half the old moneymaker family and he's half Jeff Horn Bouchard, hence his paternal speed. He went back a fortnight later to our last inland federation race and was my first pigeon in a day where the rain was starting off the ground.
Yeah.
He's always been a good pigeon. He's a good young bird and won some prizes. He won as a yearling. That was his wins last year. So
Yeah, what's his best nest condition?
he's been sent most of the time sitting 8 to 12 days on eggs. This year the plans is to take his hens away and try him as a widowhood cock because of his Bouchard origins and the fact that he seems to be very, very keen when he's driving his hen.
This is Bob's very smart young bird loft. It's 26 foot long. It has 3 sections, one of which has got nest boxes because Bobby likes to pair his young birds up. And all trapping is through Sputnik traps. And these are a few of Bob's 1998 young birds. How many babies you breed each season, Bob?
Usually about 120.
Yeah.
Although I breed a lot of pigeons, usually 300 or 400. There's quite a lot of pigeons goes to other lofts, particularly for the stock loft.
Yeah.
But for my own racing team, it's usually around 110, 120.
And of course you lose a few to hogs.
Well, last year we started with 110. We raced them all the way at the Young Bird National, although we didn't send all the pigeons to the Young Bird National, and there was 60 survivors
Yeah.
in a very difficult season. This year, this is a new venture to have youngsters at this time of the year. Normally the pigeons wouldn't be breeding until, well, the stock loft at least till the 20th of February, racing loft to the 20th of March. This is winter breeding for the very first time.
Yeah.
To try a system where we hopefully will get them right through the molt. Now, I haven't gone for the darkness system, because I think there's problems with racing the yearlings later on in life unless you get them right through the molt. We've gone for another system where we leave the lights on to 10 o'clock at night to see if we can molt the pigeons before the young bird racing starts.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's quite a lot of these young birds on their 5th flight, so it seems to be working. Come the 1st of May, we'll stop using the lights, and because the day will then become quite short, we're expecting that they'll break into a heavy body molt, and within 3 or 4 weeks will be like yearlings.
Brilliant idea, mate. This is seen inside Bobby's lovely stock loft. There's plenty of room, and the stock bird's got a nice big aviary. This is a lovely cock. Bobby, what's this one?
That's Howden Gold, the 1985 Wrens winner. No far from where we were standing, Jimmy Pride was second that night. And that was the Wrens winner. He won the race by a good, almost 15 minutes. He was a good winner. He was an easy winner that day.
Yeah. He's now in the stock loft.
He's now in my stock loft to keep the sparrowhawks from killing him.
Yeah.
For safety's sake, really.
Yeah.
He's an old cock. He still falls an egg or two when he's in good fettle. He's starting to come up into form now, as you can see.
Was he bred, do you think?
The best pigeon so far, 2nd Open National, doing off of Howden Gold. There's been other good pigeons.
Well, Bobby, I've enjoyed my visit to your loft this morning. It's been a great pleasure, and I say the pigeons are a credit to you.
Well, it's nice to have you.